Reading has tremendous benefits, and every successful person who talks about their achievements inevitably discusses the importance of reading in their success. However, the problem is that most of us don't enjoy reading or stick with it for long, especially in this era full of distractions everywhere. So after over 4 years of reading, today I'll present to you 5 steps to enjoy reading, never quit it, and make it a part of your life. These methods have genuinely impacted my reading experience. In the end, I'll share my personal experience that made me love and enjoy reading to the point of obsession. So I won't keep you waiting. Subscribe to the channel immediately, and let's get started. Step 1. Don't read randomly. This is genuinely a piece of advice you should understand. By randomly, I mean don't read books that aren't related to your field or interest, especially if you're new to reading. Don't just read a certain book because you heard it's great. Instead, choose the book you need, the one that will solve a particular problem for you. For example, if you're socially anxious or suffer from social phobia, read books that address these issues. The joy of reading comes from the information itself, the knowledge that impacts you and gives you memories of past mistakes. This is advice I truly wish I'd heard long ago. Look for any problem you have. If you're always feeling lazy and sluggish, read books on productivity like Deep Work or Atomic Habits. Trust me, you'll enjoy it greatly because you'll be amazed by philosophical insights and information you've never heard before. In these books, the author discusses your problem and then offers solutions, so you'll feel as though the book is directed personally at you. But be careful. If you're new to reading, you should pay attention to the book's size and the author's style. One of the first books I read was The 48 Laws of Power. This book could solve many problems for sure, but it's honestly quite boring, as author Robert Greene relies on old stories and monarchs to explain each rule, making it tedious. Plus, the book is over 400 pages long. As a result, my reading was unfocused and I stopped reading it. Then I came back after a year and finished it. That was because I read other books during that time and got used to reading. In summary, your enjoyment of reading comes from 2 things. First, the amount of information you'll discover that will solve your problems, and second, the author's style. So choose books that align with your needs, and it's better if they aren't too detailed or too long unless you're already used to reading. Step 2. Avoid distractions. You don't need to be a scientist to understand that you need to put away your phone while reading. Please put your phone away. Not enjoying the book is entirely normal if you're reading and your phone, filled with fresh news, trends, and games, is nearby. Social media in particular gives you a huge dopamine boost, making your brain prefer browsing your phone over reading. No matter how beneficial and concise the book is, you won't enjoy reading as long as your mind is on your phone. Imagine you're in prison, locked in your cell with nothing but books, a lot of books. Believe me, you'd read a whole book daily and truly enjoy it. Why? Because you have no other choice but to read, as it's the only source of dopamine to entertain yourself. So eliminate those options by turning off your phone, leaving it charging in another room, and reading somewhere far from it. That way, you'll read that chapter with complete focus and certainly enjoy it, knowing there's no chance to check your phone. Here's one last tip. Don't read immediately after using your phone. You won't be able to concentrate as you've been exposed to a lot of dopamine and then immediately switched to reading, which will make you lose interest quickly. I prefer to read early in the morning with my coffee before I even touch my phone, and I truly enjoy it that way. You can watch this video to understand why these habits, like reading, yield better results when done in the morning. So in short, make the book your only dopamine source, like the prison example, and you'll discover immense enjoyment. Step 3. Choose an appropriate time. This is important. Setting a specific time for reading imprints in your mind that this is your reading time, the time when you experience the pleasure of reading. If you don't do this, it's not a huge deal, but trust me, you won't get the same amount of enjoyment as when you read at a regular, comfortable time. Just imagine someone who reads for an hour daily at 7 a.m. with a cup of coffee versus someone who reads an hour broken up throughout the day. This will certainly make a difference. Also, if you read at unscheduled times, you won't read daily and will procrastinate often. In contrast, if you read at a specific time, your mind will adapt to that time being designated for reading, and you'll enjoy it more. Making it a fixed time in your day will make you look forward to it. This doesn't mean you can't have multiple times for reading, you just need to get used to it, like reading in the morning and before bed. Choose the time that suits you, as it's not a problem. As I mentioned, once you get used to that time, you'll focus more and therefore you'll enjoy reading during that period. After that, another time may naturally emerge. Believe me, I went through all these stages. So please read at a set time and don't force yourself to read at any random time to avoid losing interest in it. Step 4. Choose a specific place. This is closely related to the time of reading, and it greatly impacts your reading experience. All you need to do is try out different locations and find the one that suits you best. Many people enjoy reading on planes, others in coffee shops, and some in the living room. What's most important is that these places aren't ones you typically use. By that, I mean that your room is the last place to consider reading because it contains the PC you play on every day, the bed you sleep on daily, and all the other things you enjoy. So it becomes a place reserved for these things, and reading wouldn't even cross your mind there. If you do read, your reading is likely to be distracted and you'll get up to do something else. In contrast, if you have a dedicated reading place, you won't be tempted to do anything else. You'll know this place is just for reading. For me, my reading spot is the kitchen, where I read while my coffee brews. I also have another place, a small apartment I visit during vacations, but when I go there, I'm determined to finish multiple books, not just one. I'll talk about this apartment at the end of the video because it's what allowed me to truly experience the pleasure of reading. Step 5. Accessories. Accessories may seem minor, but they can make reading more enjoyable. Always try to buy items and accessories that aid your reading, like highlighters, chapter stickers, or tools to help you comfortably hold the book, even bookshelves. These items give you a reader's identity and add to the enjoyment, especially when highlighting a sentence that changed your way of thinking or a chapter that was life-changing. This will keep you organized so that you can refer back to any kind of lesson you want, and it will also help ingrain the lesson or quote in your mind more effectively. You'll find great joy in coloring chapters and texts. Now, how did I discover all these steps, and how did they make me love and get accustomed to reading so much? The story began with that apartment I mentioned. At that time, my family left the apartment and I decided to stay there, but the internet cut out and I was truly alone with nothing to entertain myself except for one thing: the book I had read only 2 pages of on that trip. It's like the prison example. The book was The Power of Now, and I chose it because I was in a terrible state of overthinking about my future. Every time I failed at something, I'd lose control and feel deeply discouraged. So I applied the first step by choosing a topic that suited me. As for the second step, I was free of all distractions. So I started reading the book, and I actually read more than half of it. After that session, I realized something amazing which has significantly influenced my current state. First, I realized how foolish I was for not having done this session earlier. Second, I understood what the joy of reading truly means. Lastly, that book solved one of the biggest problems I'd ever faced. I then began to ask myself what made me enjoy reading like never before, and that's how I came up with these steps. I now have a clear reading time in that apartment, and the place itself is the apartment. That session also included all the highlighters and chapter tags, which made the experience even more enjoyable. I also discovered that the pleasure of reading increases with time. Reading for an hour continuously is not like reading for just 10 minutes. The longer you read, the more your thoughts, emotions, and memories connect with the book's content. After that period, whenever I returned to that place, I'd finish a new book every time. So as a final tip, if you're not convinced by what I've shared, try to choose a place like this apartment and have a long reading session, keeping the first few steps in mind. Try a session just once that lasts over 2 hours and you'll thank me later. If you're interested in more habits like reading, this video will benefit you. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.